In this week's From the Verse, we talk mining, rivers, bugs, and much, much more. Hello and welcome back to From the Verse, which is your go-to Star Citizen news catch-up, brought to you from Wish. I have a low opinion of myself. Get over it. Today we are taking a look at the mining profession, rivers, and the tech that comes with it, and bugs, and more bugs. And remember, if you want to get more Star Citizen news like this from me, then remember to subscribe so you don't miss out. But first up, as always, let's look at the recent patch notes this week. It's once again all for 3.18, and the testing focus has been pretty much the same for the last few weeks. I'll bang it up on the screen now for you. So as you can see, they're still testing all of this in 3.18's PTU in the hope that they can eventually push it out to the live servers as soon as possible. The known issues is a rather long list, from players snapping into seats, to cargo issues, to disappearing missions. The new upside of these is, of course, that these are the known issues, so they will be getting sorted. You know, I just feel sorry for those poor unknown issues, left abandoned at the bug shelter with those sad faces that no one wants to adopt. Bug fixes now, and these are what have been sorted recently. Airlock doors not opening, snub docking ships not being available, purchase ships not being recognised, vehicles showing as empty in the VMA, nomad missiles not swappable, and a homicide charge on suicide after a ship's off death. There's some weirdos out there, right? And of course the usual client crashes there as well. So no 3.18 as yet, so hold on to your credits a little bit longer while we wait for more info. Next up, we had this week's Inside Star Citizen, which you probably guessed it by now is all about mining. There's some big changes coming and even more reasons to delve into those caves on foot, and this was brought to us by a guy who has clearly been playing too much Hogwarts Legacy. Here's what he said.
So when we left mining, we thought it was already in a good state. So even introducing with the mining gadget, we introduced from our perspective, a nice little different approach on mining. So you have to leave your ship, attach the mining gadget to the rock, then get back into the ship and then do your mining procedure. And we also thought that it will help with difficulty, so that especially new players can buy a mining gadget to bring down resistances of the rock drastically, so they have an easier experience, mining experience. What we didn't have in mind...
I told ya, he is on a slippery slope down that chamber of CIG secrets. Anyway, back to it.
What we didn't have in mind is that we also have to facilitate expert miners that still need a challenge there. So what we tackled is a general balancing pass. That is, we adjusted all the items, all mineable heads, all mining heads, all sub-items that you attach to the mining head, the mining gadgets. Everything now has different values. So what we try to do is match certain mining heads with certain materials or resources that you find. So you will have mining heads that go better with, for example, aluminum, and others that might go better with iron. And this directly leads to the next thing. So we introduced finally iron, and iron is a ship exclusive mineable for now. We also introduced some new resources like Genelite. Genelite is exclusively found in caves, and it's only mineable with FPS. And the reason why we wanted to introduce that is that, like, from the data that we gather from all of you playing, is no one uses FPS mining as a game mechanic outside of the prison. So we wanted to make it more attractive to players to use a multi-tool with a mining attachment other than just having it attached because you found it. So right now we want you to try out the new caves, find the new mineable, and I can guarantee you that it is really profitable to bring that with you.
So if mining's your bag, or you're interested in giving it a go, then there's going to be some huge changes coming in the future with balancing, gadgets and minables all throughout the verse. This implementation will be coming in 3.19. Well, that's what Draco Malfoy said, but he seemed pretty confident. But hold on to your wizard hats, because we don't actually know the time frame of when 319 will be. It could be this year, it could be next year, so take that info with a pinch of Valerian root. And that now concludes the Harry Potter references as we move on to this week's Star Citizen Live. This week's Star Citizen Live was all about rivers and the tech that's being created for their distribution around the verse. It wasn't the most exciting or feature-packed episode, but their river guy and what he has done is pretty amazing. And here's some snippets from the river guy and what he's all about.
I'm your host, Jared Huckabee, and joining us on the show, at least for the first half, is community acclaimed river guy. What's happened? Like, I remember, like,
River Guy.
River Guy. You sent me a picture of the YouTube comment. Like, they just called me River Guy.
Yeah, it was like Riverman has struck again or something.
Was it River Man or River Guy? I thought it was.
I think it was River Guy. You put River Guy in the event title, so that's as official as it gets.
I feel like it was River Guy. Right. So that's all we're talking about today. I just want to let you know that that's it, and take care, everybody. See you. So let's talk rivers now.
Yeah, rivers.
Why?
Why rivers?
You're brought in. You got all this planet stuff, and you could conceivably, you're engine programmer 3. You got some skills. I don't mind telling people you got some skills. You could essentially be working on anything you want, within reason here.
Anything the project demands.
Yeah. But why rivers?
Well, rivers is a funny one. So back to that interview with Marco, when I'm sitting there looking at a picture of New Babbage on the screen, and he's saying, how do we solve this problem? How do we solve that problem? And then he says, can I have a look at your dissertation? So I bring it up on my laptop, and I've got rivers. I mean, they're just trenches at this point. And I say to Marco, have you got rivers? And he says, we haven't got rivers. So about 5-6 months into working at CIG, Marco asked me to start working on a terrain modification system. You remember we did the first IC about that. Because...
Your first IC.
My first, yeah, not yours. Because we had no way of modifying the terrain currently. It was fixed, and because of all the shared data and nothing being local, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I started working on a solution to that, and then I said to Marco, this is going really well. I could use this to make rivers. Do you mind if I do? And he said, no, that sounds cool. So I did. It was really nice to kind of have that freedom. And obviously I couldn't put that much time into it to start with because it was kind of like a side project. But eventually I remember the first version of it, we deformed the terrain and then raised the ocean to fill the gap. And the ocean, it was a real gimmick. It looked really bad. The waves were going the wrong way.
Wrong shader for an ocean.
Yeah, and it was the same mesh, so we had no kind of like control over it or anything really, but it just about worked. And anyway, he showed CR, and we managed to get some time scheduled for it, and that's how I started working on rivers, which is, it was really cool to go from saying, I want to work on this, to it being a feature. And I remember it coming up on the roadmap for the first time and being really excited. I was like, I worked on something that's on the roadmap, and being able to tell people about it. It was cool. I really like the rivers. I still need to do more on them. They're still my baby. If I could choose what I was going to work on next, oh God, there's so many things. I really want to go back to the spawning, and I want to make our planets more physicalized, which means nothing. I want the planets to be realistic. So we currently have our climate, we have temperature and humidity. I want more detail, more control, more proceduralness, so that you can click a button with some randomized parameters and generate an entire unique planet just like that. So I want it to be, I want to say, well, this is the local sun on the solar system, and this is where the planet is, and these were the materials that were around when it was forming. So where are we likely to have continents? Where are we likely to have resources in the soil? What plants and rocks are likely to have come here? I'd like to, and I don't know if we'll ever be able to do this, but I'd like to do full terrain, like simulation from kind of like, you could do those cool simulations where you have a flat piece of terrain and you start introducing water droplets and it forms the kind of naturally occurring erosion. Because that's not what the rivers are. The rivers are finding where a river works given the current terrain. Because we can locally edit terrain with a terrain modifier, but we can't completely reshape the planets because of our procedural tech is relying on reading these fixed height maps that we have. We can tweak it here and there, but we can't reshape the whole thing currently. But it'd be really cool to do kind of like a full erosion sort of thing. Whether that's ever going to find its home in the PU though, in our kind of like our star system where we're finding, you know, hundreds of planets and stuff, I don't know. but that's the sort of thing I'd love to work on.
Now he seems madly keen on his rivers, and fair play to the lad. We need more like him in game development that actually cares about his job. After River Guy went off for a beer at the CIG bar, we had 3 guys come on who were talking QA and the struggles with the game as it progresses, while they test and attempt to keep as much as they can in check before it hits people like you and me. And here's what they said.
It's a job, you know. Testing isn't just playing, and there can be laborious and, you know, monotonous parts to it. But that's not to say we can't have fun and enjoy the game as well. Because you know, like I say, I was a backer and I enjoy playing the game a lot. Like I'm a role player, and I like to role play in Star Citizen. If you ever meet a guy called Stranger in there and he asks you to do something, he might have a decent mission for you to do.
Listen out for the voice changer.
The sandbox nature of the game, you can make so much fun with what's there. It's crazy how much you can do, and you can have so much fun, and we do in work as well. But yeah, it's a hard job, and we have a very important part to play, and it's recognised here at SIG, which is brilliant and fantastic for us.
Well, one of the other things I wanted to talk about along those lines is that when we talk to a lot of people, QA often comes up as a tremendous point of entry. You know, it's a great place to learn every aspect of game development, because every aspect of game development needs QA. There's no aspect that just comes out fully formed and working. It's like so through QA you can learn just about any discipline that's involved in this. But the flip side of that can sometimes make it seem like it's not a career in and of itself. That it is only a thing to get you in the door, and then you are meant to leave it. But some of my, we were talking about this earlier, some of my favorite people, shout out to Vinny Sinatra, and when I have tremendous respect for the folks who have determined that this aspect of game development is important, and it is valid, and it is essential to the creation of successful creation of any video games. So they make careers out of it. You all here as managers and as Mr. Global Head of Direct QA, I'm just going to sit back there and I'll let my guys talk. He's back there like Don Corleone. Like,
well, I shouldn't even be here. You just pull me out from the backstage, right?
Talk to me about the decision to make this a career, to not not that there's anything wrong with it. You know, the people who started in QA. When I'm not talking.
We have a name for people like Phil and I called QA lifers, and you get people who enter QA through several different means. Some people pursue the games industry, some people want to play games, and you know, this idea that it's just playing games, like this is what pulls a lot of people into QA. But there's a specific skill set that comes really natural to a lot of QA testers, and it's the idea of problem solving and being interested in those problems and finding those solutions. And it's a real passion for that drives people to continue a career in QA rather than chasing development. One of my favorite aspects, and don't get me wrong, is seeing the development of people's careers. They come into QA, and whether they go up in QA or whether they go up in development or production, it's all amazing to watch people grow and gain knowledge for the product. But you get some people who are just wired to find the problem and make that problem worse, and then tell people why it's so broken and then get that fixed. And it was a particular passion that I found when I moved into QA. And then obviously as I got better and honed that skill in my 10 years that I was at Sony prior to coming to CIG, it became less about how I can branch out and become part of this, the creative force that make games, do the art or do the program or doing the code, and become someone who gets to see everything. Because that's what you get to see in QA. You are one of the few departments who see literally everything that gets put into a game. And it's such a rare thing to see in the games industry that it was just, I fell in love with it, and losing hair since. It's amazing. I love it.
So, as you could have guessed, QA for Star Citizen is probably a horrendous job, and well, these guys clearly know that, but they still seem to love the job at CIG, which bodes well for us players moving forward. And now we move on to the quick bits, which I've realised recently that I shouldn't get them wet, because they currently seem to be multiplying at an astonishing rate. And I'm not being funny, I'm pretty sure I've seen some of them have teeth. Ah! Little bastard. First up, we'll look at the progress tracker. and see what's new on that. They are everywhere, by the way. Quick bits of rife. First one being new salvage contracts being created. We heard about these in a previous From the Verse, where brokers will sell you a plot of land space where you can just go ham and salvage and sell whatever you want. We're also looking at getting some new outfits that are being created for the Dusters, who are a gang in Stanton. So I'm looking forward to seeing those outfits and the aesthetics around them. And master modes, which we know is going to be a huge change for everyone regarding flight and vehicle movement and how we will travel and fight in the future. They are implementing new modes for that. And then there's also persistent HABs. This was previously removed, but now is back on the tracker. Does this mean we get our own apartment soon? Or is this just the hangars? Well, looking online, this has been answered, as said here. So it looks like persistent HABs and persistent hangars are two separate things. So the fact that persistent HABs is back on the menu, yes. Give me my own apartment where I can have a beer, I can throw my space pants on the floor after the end of a rough day. Count me in on that one. Talking of throwing your pants on the floor and having a beer, Bar Citizens are happening again this year, and some are rather soon. So if you want to meet up with some other citizens, then check online. I'm working nights for the one in Manchester, so a little good about that. But you might be lucky if you can find one near you that you are able to attend. And last up, there's a picture that CIG posted on their Twitter account. My account got hacked this week, actually, so if anyone has me on Twitter, it ain't me at the moment that loves crypto, apparently. But back to CIG, and they posted this image of a pyro outpost. It looks really freaking cool, and I'm looking forward to when we all get to visit there in the future. And I'm also dying to see more of pyro, but hey yo, let's wait. And that is all from this week's From the Verse. Remember to subscribe for more from me in the future, and I'll catch you in the next one.